everyone, and welcome to Midweek Connect. My name is Ryan Beaver, and I'm one of the pastors here at Rancho, and we are really glad that you decided to join us. For those of you guys that may not know what Midweek Connect is, it honestly is exactly what it sounds like. It's an opportunity for you to connect with the church, us, and everyone else online during the middle of the week. So we want you to do that. If you're watching live, feel free to chat with one of our pastors down in the comments section. We'd love to pray with you, answer any questions you have with you, or just chat with you. We're going to have a great show. It's going to be a great time of worship and teaching. In fact, right now we're going to cue up the worship, and then we're going to have Pastor Scott sharing a short conversation he had with Emily Filipino from the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are my heart will sing. No other name, Jesus, Jesus. No name is higher than your name. No name is greater than the name Jesus. We just want to pray this right now over you and your family during this time. Just receive this. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you. Turn His face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you, within you. He is with you, He is with you in the morning, in the evening, and you're coming and you're going, when you're weak
We're here today with Emily Filipino. She is the CEO of the Temecula Chamber of Commerce, and we're very happy to have you here. I was at your big gala the other day. That was a ton of fun. Really a good time. So you are leading the network of businesses here in the Valley, and of course, the business community is hit incredibly hard during this pandemic. In fact, I've heard people say two words probably more than any other, that this is unprecedented and fluid. And nobody is experiencing that as much as the business owners. So what is the mood out there among the local business community?
You know, it's interesting. In Temecula, we've seen it in a couple of waves. So the first industry to take a hit was our travel, tourism, hospitality, and lodging sector. And they experienced a complete upheaval within, I would say, a 36-hour period. Wow. Peers and colleagues that we've known in the community who have had businesses for almost 20 years within a 36-hour period, completely out of business, irrelevant, and let go of 100% of their staff. Oh, wow. And processing that kind of change, both mentally and economically, is a huge impact. They assimilated it first, and they were a little bit numb. And what we saw coming into this week is that more of our professional services are starting to feel the impact of what's happening. So professional services were still operating out of their business storefronts for a bit, while maybe hospitality and tourism was dead. But then as of late last week, or actually the beginning of last week, we were all in the shelter in place. So professional services are scrambling to set up a telecommute structure. They're having to make hard decisions about how their businesses go on. And then the solopreneur, that self-employed person, they took a hit pretty early on as well, and just losing their lifelines and not really having any business support or structure. Well,
this hit hard and hit fast, as you've said, and it's hitting a valley like ours. This is, Temecula Valley, particularly because we're a lot of tourism. You've got the wineries, you've got Old Town, Pachanga, of course, closed pretty quick. How does that have a unique impact on this whole valley, not just business owners, but the whole valley?
So we're going to see this play out for probably at least a year to come. Our tourism industry had just crossed the threshold of doing over $1 billion of revenue a year. So when you look at the tax receipts and what that contributes to our city's income and contributions towards our community infrastructure, the number of jobs that were in place, literally by the thousands, it is having a detrimental effect. The good news is, and I always want to draw people's attention to the silver lining, everything that we're seeing right now, the workforce reductions, the standstill of business, it is temporary. We don't know how long that will be. It could be 6 more weeks, 4 more weeks, 8 more weeks, 12 more weeks. I think as a nation and as a county and a local community, we're gonna figure that out together in time, but it is temporary.
There's a big relief package that's been signed over the weekend, the CARES package, and it really is about helping individuals who are struggling, but also the business community as well, particularly small businesses. So if somebody is a small business, what help is available to them?
So fortunately, our government has been working, on bipartisan agreements to really help support the economy. And the CARES Act is actually the third stimulus bill that's come through. And so while there's a lot of focus and attention on it right now, and I'll give you some more information on that, I really want to remind everyone to go back to the previous forms of support through the previous 2 stimulus bills that still exist and in many cases can be overlapped and double dipped. And it's worth noting that they're actually starting to work on a 4th stimulus bill right now. So with the CARES Act, I think that was like over 800 pages of legislation. We're still going through it ourselves. I will say to anyone who's maybe watching or listening in that the City of Temecula and the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce are partnering together. And what we're trying to do is break down the bill into very bite-sized pieces that can be understood in 3 to 4 sentences per section or segment of the bill to help everyone in our community get the help that they need. What's really significant about this bill is it's not just for the business owners. If you are someone who is unemployed, the benefit to you has been extended in unemployment wages. So now there's a bonus in how much you're going to be receiving in unemployment. If you are an employer who's thinking of letting go staff, but you're not really sure, there's now an incentive in place to help you keep them employed and to cover their payroll through the Payroll Protection Program. And that is a loan program that actually turns into a grant. So a portion of that loan will be forgiven if you can prove that you spent it on payroll, or maybe mortgage, rent, operating expenses, etc.
And that's a huge benefit. We're actually going through that ourselves. We have almost 300 employees here between the church and the school and the rescue mission, and we've got our attorneys and our HR staff just going through that line by line. So any help that Chamber can provide and the city to say, here's a summary sheet, or here's an online tool or something that can help you navigate that, because it can be kind of complicated and you want to do it correctly. Now, you've also offered people to call the chamber as well, right?
Yeah, with all of this information, there's so much information out there right now. We're in information overload. I swim in it daily. And so I would encourage anyone who's received information and just still doesn't get it and still has a question to call the chamber offices. Our phone number is 951-676-5090. We will make sure that you get a specific resource, or that we connect you with someone who can help walk you through step by step whatever it is that you need. And we're doing that through collaboration with the city, with the SBDC, with the SBA, and with all of our amazing members in this community who specialize in these services and this understanding.
Well, this is a time for everybody to come together, and it's really fun to see the federal government, of course, working in a bipartisan way, business owners, the chamber, and just the community rallying together to help people, because there's no one who's not affected by this.
Yeah.
It is traumatic. It was instantaneous. The good news, like you've mentioned, is that it's temporary. We don't know exactly when things will start to recover or how quick the recovery will happen, but it will happen. And it's very possible that we'll be better off because of it, because we work together globally within our own nation and in our own community, probably unlike ever before. So there's a lot of aid out there available for people through unemployment benefits, through, of course, the cash gifts that are coming, as well as additional sick leave. So there's a lot of things coming to help people that are in need. But there's also a collaboration that could take place kind of among the residents and among the building or the business owners in our community. How have you seen businesses kind of rally together to make something whole out of what's clearly broken in our community?
There have been so many acts of kindness and just great examples of good humanity throughout this whole process. And I really am going to encourage the mayor, after this is all done, to have one day just a big park setting where we all come forward and can share the stories of the random acts of kindness. This is a really good opportunity for us at the chamber. We're focusing on where are the resources, who has what supply and who has what need. And whether you're an individual or a business, we all have resources and we all have needs. And now is the time for us to come together and step forward and say, these are my resources and these are our needs, so that we can efficiently connect everyone together. But great example, one of my favorites, very early on, within the first few days of the COVID pandemic, one of our local manufacturers is called Paulson Manufacturing. They've been in Temecula for forever, I think since the 70s. And they manufacture personal protective equipment. So face shields, body armor, stuff that's shipped all over the world. And they reached out and they said, we know that we have some face shields and some goggles that could benefit our local community. And while we're busier than ever catering to the rest of the world, Temecula comes first. Wow. So you have our lifeline, and please share this information with whomever you need to. So the chamber reached out to our network. We went to every healthcare facility we knew, the local hospitals, dental offices, anyone we thought who might need it. And we said, hey, you have this lifeline. And it was amazing. I had a Generations Healthcare. They specialize in like senior and home health. And they stepped forward and they said, we have a facility in Temecula, but honestly, we have a broader network. I have 5,000 employees and they all could use some more protective equipment. And they were so conscientious by saying, we understand if we can only make a request for our Temecula staff, but if they'd be willing to share, Can you help? And so we got to Paulson. Paulson said, absolutely, we can give them 10,000 pieces, get the order in. Temecula Valley Hospital turned around right away. They placed an order and said, that was so simple. Thank you for the connection. But it never would have happened if Neighbor 1 wouldn't have been willing to share and just say, hey, Neighbor 2, this is what I have. Do you have a need?
And there's countless stories like that are taking place. In our own world, we have Community Mission of Hope, which of course is just absolutely exploding with need. And usually people would come in for case management, they'd fill out intake, and of course we're not doing that because of social distancing and because there's just such a high demand for food and household supplies. And so Pachanga gave something like, I don't know, $200,000 worth of food just a couple of weeks ago. Restaurants have given food that they can no longer sell. So the business community can step up, even with Community Mission of Hope. If there's any food, perishable or non-perishable, we can take it all. We would love to be able to talk with you. So that's cmoh.net. So you get the word out on that just to help each other out here. There's a lot of families who are in need. And of course, our mission is to make sure that no one goes hungry and people have really the love of God surrounding them during this time. You've talked a little bit about a time frame in terms of recovery. And right now, they're just kind of guesses. Nobody really knows. What do you see as your best guess, and what's the chatter in town about when a recovery might start happening, when people might be able to socialize again or go to a restaurant again? And you mentioned the full recovery may take upwards of a year, but kind of walk us through what that year might look like.
Yeah, so I'll break that answer into two parts. Just earlier this week, I was on a conference call with Dr. Thornburg, who's an economist out of UCR. And it was really enlightening to hear his perspective on this. He said, this is not equivalent to the Great Recession. And there's a lot of fear tactics in the media that just equate this to the next recession. And he didn't have that specific outlook. He said, quarter one, we're going to be down a little bit. Quarter two, we're going to be down a lot. Quarter three, you're going to start to see us gain momentum again. Quarter four, we're going to post positively, and then it'll roll into 2021 in terms of our continued economic growth. Part of why he felt like we could have some optimism is because we don't have the same earmarkers we saw with the Great Recession years ago. Then we had overinvested in real estate infrastructure, and we had a really faulty mortgage system and lending system, I guess I should say.
The real structural problems that caused the collapse. So we don't have those structural problems right now.
We don't.
In his opinion, yeah.
And most every layoff that you're seeing is a temporary layoff. As soon as our businesses have the green light to open again, guess what? They have to hire staff, right? Which means people are re-employed. And to something you said earlier, I think that we're going to be stronger, more resilient, more resourceful, and more creative. And I think as a community, we're going to want to spend and work more than ever before.
There's a party coming.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
So I think that the resurgence will be great. Are we going to feel the effects of this for a while? We are.
So I've heard it said that this is more equivalent to a natural disaster rather than a structural recession. And so that likely means that there will be a short-term turnaround where we will start recovering fairly quickly. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct from my my limited expertise.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, everything that I'm hearing would attest to that. But then that brings us to focusing on just where we are here and now as a community. Last week, our businesses were in a period of adaptation. The world changed overnight, their businesses changed, and they were probably running on a lot of adrenaline, figuring out, how they were going to be resourceful and adapt. This week, we're moving into a period of adoption. So business owners, employees, laid off workforce, we're all settling into recognizing we have a new norm. And as I look at the next couple of weeks, I want our community to prepare for the fact that those feelings that we're starting to get a glimpse of right now are going to settle in more so over the next couple weeks. And there is definitely, a tinge of negativity to that. There's certainly things that are wrong, but it's not the place that I want our minds to be stuck in. And I don't ever want anyone in our community to feel like this is it. Reach out to the chamber, reach out to your employers, reach out to your professional and industry peers to think about how to re-innovate this time and space, because we do have, a good number of, I'd say 4 to 8 week window of maybe operating outside of what we've known as our norms.
So it's a time for creativity. It's a time for innovation. It's a time for problem solving. It's a time for compassion.
Yes.
And this is where the best can be brought out in all of us. And it's a constant battle to just kind of get the negativity, put it aside, and then just be at our best individually with our families, be at our best in terms of compassion for our neighbors, be at our best in terms of how to adapt and adopt, as you said, to the current reality. And I truly believe that we're all going to be better off as a result of this. We're going to be more creative. We're going to be more connected.
Yeah.
And I believe that of the business community as well.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here. This has been incredibly helpful, and thank you for leading the chamber. It's a fantastic chamber that does so much good, not just for the businesses in our town, but for the community itself. So it's been a great pleasure having you here.
It was my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a great time of worship and an opportunity to get to hear some really important things that are going on in our city. We are so glad you guys joined us. And before you go, I just want to tell you, on Sunday, we have live streaming services for all of our campuses, Temecula, Murrieta, and Espanol. And also, if I could just hijack this for a moment, if you don't know about our kids' YouTube show, you need to be watching that with your family. With all that being said, if you need more information, go to rancho.tv and you'll find everything you need. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next week.